A few tournaments back at the PPA Masters, Ana Leigh Waters debuted her new lob serve. In certain matches, she used it almost every single serve. And the crazy thing is that it was extremely effective. In the past, I wasn't really sure if the lob serve was something that was actually effective at high levels, but this is the best player in the world that we're talking about. If she's doing it, clearly it's something that we can all add to our toolboxes. So now I'm gonna very quickly take you through step by step what she does and why it's so effective. She does the lob serve a little bit different than what I've taught on this channel in the past, so pay close attention. So the first thing that she's doing differently is she's adding significantly more spin on her lob serve than what I would do on a normal lob serve. So a normal lob serve that I would have taught in the past looks something like this. I'm pretty much just hitting the ball straight up into the air using a continental grip, contacting the ball in front of me. So it's kind of just, you know, straight up. It looks like a beginner technique, right? It's not like I'm using a loop. I'm literally just going straight back and straight up, and the serve still gets a lot of height, but it doesn't have the topspin that Ana Leigh is using when she does it. So when Ana Leigh does it, it looks like this. So she sort of has her same loop and same follow through that she has on her normal serve. So on a normal serve, I do what's called a loop. So I have my paddle high, I bring it back, and then I accelerate forward. So it's sort of like a C motion, and that's how you get momentum to get power. So she's using a small loop to get momentum before going into her lob serve, where she's brushing up the ball like she would on a normal topspin serve that gives her that crazy spin. The difference is when she's hitting the ball, her face has to be super open to get that upward trajectory. So on a topspin serve, my face is gonna look like this. And on my lob serve, I'm gonna be more open. So topspin, I'm hitting a line drive. So I don't need to have my face going up so much. It looks like this, right? The big difference technically is that on this lob serve, we need to open up our face. And while that sounds simple, it's actually kind of weird and tricky if you're using your same Eastern grip and you're trying to get topspin. It takes some practice. So you're gonna have to go on the courts and get the hang of this a little bit. But when you're hitting it, one thing to think about is that your toss needs to be coming down. On my topspin serve, I can sort of just hit the ball right as it leaves my hand and it's gonna go forward. On the lob serve, the ball needs to be coming down in order for me to get it up. So what that looks like is that. So I drop the ball and I come under it with my open face to get that ball going up. You might need to get a little bit lower too with your swing to get under the ball and have the face open and have enough momentum to get the ball high over the net. So the three things you need to remember so far are that when you're hitting the lob serve, you have to have a more open face, or if it's not gonna go up, you need to get more under the ball, and you need to hit the ball as it's coming down. So you need to hit your toss as it's coming down. Put that all together and it looks something like this. In terms of the spin though, one thing to understand is that if you're not getting a good amount of topspin on the serve, it's not gonna be that effective. When Ana Leigh does it, she like really spins it. You could see the ball kick forward when it bounces on the ground. So you really need to practice this in order to get enough spin to make the serve effective. So I'd say this is probably the trickiest part of the serve to figure out and what's gonna take the most practice. So if you wanna learn this, head to the courts and put in some time because you're not gonna get it immediately. It's actually taking me a little bit of time to get used to it because I haven't really hit lob serves with this much spin before. Another thing that Ana Leigh does differently is where she stands. So she actually stands about one step back from the baseline, and what this allows her to do is hit the ball higher without sending it past the baseline. So she can get more height and hit the ball a little bit harder without hitting it long. So I recommend doing this if you want to get more height. Stand back here, and it's just gonna give you the ability to hit a slightly better lob serve. So the next thing that you need to consider on Ana Leigh's lob serve is the landing zone, specifically the depth. So when she's hitting this, she's getting it to land very deep. So that one wasn't that deep. She's getting it to land in that back portion of the box, or at least she's trying to every time, because that in combination with that spin that we just talked about is what's gonna push your opponents back. So the whole goal of this serve is that because it's high and it's spinning towards your opponents, they're gonna get pushed back and it's gonna take them longer to get to the kitchen than it would on a topspin serve. So her goal is to get it to land in that back portion of the box. It's kind of tricky though. I don't want you to aim too deep and towards the line because when you're hitting it high like this, the ball is more susceptible to wind. There's a lot that can go wrong. So don't aim for the back of the line, but you should be at the very least aiming for the back third of the box. This takes a lot of practice because if you're hitting the lob serve and it's landing right here, your opponent can just smash it and then run straight to the kitchen. So a short lob serve is pretty much pointless. And it's actually worse than hitting a normal topspin serve. So just know when you're hitting this serve, you want to aim for that back third of the box. That in combination with the spin is what's going to make it effective. So get out to the courts and practice this, because let me tell you, getting it in the back third of the box every single time isn't that easy. It might look easy, but it's actually a little bit tricky. Now guys, we're gonna get into how high to actually hit the lob serve over the net. Before I get into that though, I wanted to mention that we actually have a new line of paddles called the Turbo coming out on March 1st. When you compare these to the Duo, the main difference is that they have a more hollow feel and sound. So if you listen, as you can hear, this one has a little bit of a deeper sound and this one has a more high pitch or denser sound. So depending on if you like a dense feeling paddle or a hollow feeling paddle, you'll probably prefer one or the other. Both of these have elite power, spin, and sweet spots. It's really just the feel and the sound that's different. What really sets the Turbo apart from the rest of the market though, is that if you use code TURBO at checkout, you can get these for $99.99. And let me tell you, the performance of these is just as good or better than anything else on the market, even the paddles that are like $300. So if you want to take advantage of this crazy value, be ready because they launch on March 1st and they're going to sell out fast. In terms of how high she's hitting it though, she's getting it pretty high over the net. I'd say at least 10 to 15 feet, if not more. The first few times I tried this, I didn't really get that much height. Like that one, she's definitely hitting it way higher than that. Her lob serve looks more like that. Like that's probably a good example of how high she's hitting it. And why I think that's better is because when it bounces higher, meaning it's harder for your opponent to take it when it's rising. Also, the height in combination with the spin, the trajectory is going more down when it gets to the other side. So the spin really makes it kick off, which also makes it harder to time on the rise and off the bounce. So you really want to be getting the serve about 10 or 15 feet over the net. That was actually a pretty good one, because if it's too short, it's just going to be easy for them to return. So let me show you a few more examples of how high you should go. I actually like to use our back fence here as a good gauge. The fence here is actually higher than most facilities. So it's around 15 to 20 feet high, I think. That was actually a good one. And you want to be getting that spin. That one just went long. So if you hit it really high, you have to also be careful about hitting the ball long. Let's see. That one was perfect. So nice and high, 10 to 15 feet over the net with that spin. If you get the depth, the spin, and the height together, that's where it's gonna be super difficult for your opponent to hit the return on this. So when you go to the courts, I want you to run through this little checklist I made so that when you're hitting this serve, you know you're doing it right. So the first thing I think is the height. You wanna make sure you're getting good height on the serve, or else you're not even hitting a lob serve. So as I just mentioned, that looks something like that. But what that serve was missing was the two other parts of the checklist. The next part of the checklist is that you want to be getting good depth. A short lob serve would look like this. So that's landing very short in the box. Obviously that's gonna be a really easy shot for my opponent to attack on. So you really need the depth in combination with the height if you're going to be hitting the serve well. That's actually a pretty solid one. Could have been a little bit higher though. So you should go out here like I am right now and just hit serves like this and try to get the right height, try to get the right depth over and over again. That's how you're gonna get the hang of this. The last part of the checklist though is this spin. The spin is definitely the key to making the serve deadly at high levels. I think if you have the height and the depth, this will work at lower levels, maybe below 4.0. But once you get past 4.0, you're gonna need spin for this to be effective. So when you hit a spinny one well, you'll notice it actually visibly jumps forward. And the reason for that is when you hit a serve super high and it's coming straight down, the spin is actually more noticeable. So if I hit a normal topspin serve, it's already going forward very fast. On this serve, it's sort of just falling, and if I have good spin, it jumps off towards my opponents. So you can actually see very easily when you're doing this if you're hitting the spin well. So start off with the height and the depth, and then as you get the hang of that, try to add in the topspin. It's a little bit tricky, but if you can get all three down, let me tell you, this serve is gonna be deadly for you. So the next question is, who will this work well against, and how often should you use it? In terms of who this will work well against, well, Ana Leigh Waters is doing this against the best players in the world. So I think if you can do this serve really well, you can pull it off against anybody, but it's definitely going to be extra effective against players that run into the kitchen slowly. Because the whole point of doing this is that you push your opponent's back and you can be more aggressive with your third shot towards their feet as they're running in. So if you're playing people that don't get in very quickly, it's obviously going to be a lot more effective. It also will be more effective against players that don't like high balls. So if you play a tennis player, odds are they're going to be really good at hitting high balls because we've hit high balls our whole life. Some players though, if they've only played pickleball, they're not going to really know what to do if they get a high ball, especially on their backhand. So if you notice a player struggling with that, you can pull this serve out more and it's going to be more effective. In terms of how much you should actually use this though, I think it's more of a test it out and see if it works type of thing. If you're playing someone and you hit them the lob serve and they just smash it and you can't do anything on your third shot, probably shouldn't be using the lob serve very much. Ana Leigh Waters actually did this to Jack Sock. He fully just destroyed the ball, and I don't think she used it very more times against him. But if you're playing against someone and the lob serve's working super well, by all means, you can use it every time if it's working. That's what Ana Leigh was doing in certain matches. She was actually using the lob serve almost every time that she was serving because her opponents just weren't doing anything with it, and it was giving her an advantage on her third shots. So it's really just a testing thing. If your topspin serve is working better, you should obviously use your topspin serve. But if you have the lob serve down and it's working, you might as well pull that out too. And the last thing I really quickly wanted to brush through is how to return the serve. So if people start using it, I think more and more people are gonna start using it because of Ana Leigh. If people hit this to you, I want you to know that the best way to return it, if you can, is to take it on the rise. If they're not hitting it super well, which I doubt most people are hitting this as well as Ana Leigh, if you can take the ball as it's rising, that's going to be significantly better for you to get to the kitchen faster than if you let the ball bounce and you wait for it to drop. If they're hitting it extremely well and they have the spin that Ana Leigh does in the height and depth, you might need to let it drop, then go forward. But if you can take it on the rise, let me tell you, it's just gonna be a lot easier to return and you're gonna get to the kitchen faster. In terms of where to hit the ball, depending if you're taking it on the rise or you're taking it deep, if you're taking it on the rise, you can just hit it like a normal return, go deep. If you're taking it from farther back, you might wanna put some air under the ball to give yourself the time that you need to get to the kitchen. So on the rise, if you're taking it on the rise, just hit a normal return, go deep. You don't need to do anything crazy. But if you're letting it drop, you definitely want to put a little bit of height on it so you can have enough time to get to the kitchen before they hit their third. Remember, their goal is to get you like right here when they're hitting their third shot so they can target your feet. So if you're back deeper when you're hitting this, put a little height on it and it's going to help you out a lot. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I think the serve is actually super effective, and it's gonna be cool to see how many players start to implement it into their game this year. If you have any questions about the serve, make sure to leave them in the comments. And if you guys wanna watch a video about another serve that Ana Leigh uses, click this.